so many things that change society, change communities, change the world. It starts with a small group of people who have a vision, are brave enough, risk something. And in this case, it was a group of young people, and they lived in Ashland. I want everybody to know that. I want all of you to know that your dreams can come true. If you really want something and you work at it, you can have it. And this is an example of that.
So I started this little after school program. I had a little community room, I had a computer lab. So a bunch of kids started coming, and then other kids started coming. And I would ask them, like, maybe you should go to your after school program, or, this is supposed to be for these kids, getting a little full. And they would look at me like, what other after school program are you referring to? Like, there is no other after school program.
Hillary started asking us about the gang violence and the teen pregnancy and all the things that were going on in our community, and it ultimately came down to everyone was bored.
Some of the biggest complaints and concerns that I heard from the young people was there's nothing to do, there's nowhere to escape the violence and the gangs and the drugs, and we need this.
Hearing gunshots, seeing people out on the streets, it was kind of scary for me,
There was like a lot of teens that didn't have nothing to do, that were involved with drugs and alcohol a lot.
When we started talking about it more and more, we started meeting and planning events. One of our first events was a dance.
It was real youth orientated, meaning like they was the ones who was running it, they was emceeing it, the kids were performing in it, so they was all youth.
When we found that kids started to enjoy themselves during our events, we decided to start talking to more people with more power than what Hillary could do. So we started going to meetings with Nate Miley and talking about violence and violence prevention and how we could solve the problems in the community. And one of the things that came up was a teen center.
Once we met up with Nate Miley, we started going to a lot of board meetings or, just his meetings in general, until finally we got to go up in front of all of the county supervisors, and ask for grants and stuff like that.
When the young people, when we started the violence prevention efforts out here in the unincorporated area, and the young people said to me, this is what we want, this is what we've come up with from our surveys, to me it was like a no-brainer.
One of the things that Supervisor Miley said early to young people at the time was, you're going to need to make a case. You're going to need to go to all these meetings, and you're going to need to advocate for your project, and you're going to need to say this is the most important thing.
At first, the adults kind of were looking at us why are they here? And then eventually we kind of started interacting. The more they got to know us, we all got comfortable around each other.
A young man by the name of Lamont Thompson came up to me, and he said something that was very important that has always stood up, that has always stood in my mind, and that was that the young people from Ashland are very much looking forward to this youth center, and that they very much need this youth center. And he said, don't let my kids down.
We had a final meeting. There was close to 400 people there, and we were going to vote on all the projects.
So the young people, like everyone else who was involved in their different projects and strategies, had to go and convince others that day to vote for this as a top priority.
It was really nerve-wracking because at first they were going down the line saying all the things that got approved, and we were just sitting there waiting are they going to say it, and we heard them say that they're going to get a community center in Cherryland or something like that, and we were just kind of wait, what? They didn't say us, so we were just kind of sitting there, and then finally they called us, and we were so happy. We all just had big smiles, and we all just looked at each other and were like, dang, I can't believe it really happened.
They say for youth, by youth a lot. And when you hear that, most of the time it's not really there. But working on this project, youth voice are always heard first and last, honestly, too. And it wasn't just hearing, they honestly put what we said into perspective and they used it. Not just they wanted to hear what we had to say.
Yeah, you can see when the youth center comes up, a lot of the stuff that's in there, it came from us.
I remember this particular meeting where we were discussing different options, and a young man by the name of Ian was just sitting there and he was listening, And we were actually already moving toward a different direction with the design. And then he was very quiet the whole meeting, and he finally spoke up and said, "Can I say something?" And then he basically shared that the design that we were considering was he was concerned about it. And the reason he was concerned about it was because it felt like it was two different buildings. The first floor was completely open, while the second floor was all solid. And he just felt like he would want to go to the first floor, but he was scared of going to the second floor because he didn't know what was up there.
That kind of actually is what led to the look of the building. You'll see that it's kind of a checkerboard of open and closed spaces. Like you have really, like the cafe is completely open and glassy, then the next space is opaque, then the next, the computer lab is completely open, and the next space is opaque. And that checkerboard of open and closed goes through the whole building. And that really came directly out of this idea of we want to be open, but not too open. We want to be inviting, but we also want to be safe.
The original concept, as I mentioned when we met with the first youth group, looking at the floor plan, the first thing that they wanted was a safe place to hang out, relax, be themselves, and not have to worry about the outside world.
Young people also contributed to the public art goals. They helped us think about what is important, what should be manifested in the art.
We were interviewing artists through the artwork on the amphitheater, and then after we chose Eduardo and Wahim, we worked with them hands-on on the art projects.
The young people were saying, we want the diversity of our community reflected in the artwork to create a sense of unity. We want a place that feels safe, where the artwork is uplifting and inviting.
We did a little historical review with a local historian of some of the flora and fauna of the community was before it started to develop. And so we ended up coming to the decision that we want the community center to fit into Ashland, not just now, but historically. And so the native grasses and plants that are going to be going on the roof are going to be those that were in Ashland before a lot of the development happened now. So the Ashland community is kind of being brought into the Ashland Center, as well as the Ashland Center being brought into the Ashland community. So that's probably the best story I have.
The youth center is just a plus. We just really needed the land so that people can gather in the same space and vibe off of each other. Like, if we don't vibe, we're not growing.
First of all, was finding a place for the students. Someplace that would be large enough to build a large structure where we could gather most of the students. We also needed a place where the majority of students could walk to, someplace that was accessible and easy for them to get to and from, something with the ingress and egress, and in an area that might have been blighted where we could bring new life to that environment.
Once the property was finally purchased, the Hayward Area Recreation District took the lead in developing the master plan for the entire complex, which included partnerships. The three agencies, Alameda County Redevelopment Agency, then owned the parcel for the youth center. HARD, who was planning to develop the remainder of the property as a new neighborhood park. The San Lorenzo Unified School District, who operated the Edendale Middle School, which was also adjacent to it. So all three agencies formed a fantastic working relationship that was unusual in trying to get, three public agencies working together.
Everyone had a common goal. And when you have a common goal like that, even in really difficult times, you can really work wonders. And I think this building and this organization just shows that.
The site used to have part of a fuel storage facility on it, and it was all a toxic waste dump that we had to clean up. So before we could even get into construction, we had to go in and haul off all of the site. It's a whole acre. So there were trucks, just dump trucks, cycling through the site every, 10 minutes for, a couple of months.
Bottom line is, for the safety of the kids, remove it all. Test it, dig as deep as we can go, remove everything, bring back everything clean, and so that's exactly what we did.
When the redevelopment law went into effect in Congress, this was the intent, to help areas like this that have seen blight, rejuvenate it, rebuild it, bring fresh energy to it. This is a perfect example of what redevelopment can do and is capable of, and this is it's a great model. It really is.
Every day, walking, in the neighborhood and seeing, the incremental progress to what it is now, I'm very proud to be a community member, proud to participate in a process that, although it may have moved a little slow at times and some meetings may have gone on very long, like the process resulted in a building that is actually here.
Driving past it or walking past it, it's like, whoa, like I didn't realize it was gonna be like that big, like, or I didn't realize it was gonna be like this, like inspirational. And when I see like all the kids at the skateboard park, I'm just like, dang.
So now that the skate park is open and there's a playground, it seems to be just a much more community-oriented environment.
I would show up for construction meetings in the morning, and there were kids out there with their skateboards, bright and early. So very engaged, and by the end of the afternoon, there's strollers and mothers hanging out on the benches while the kids are playing around on the equipment. It's all very nice.
Youth are going to be able to have job training and experience art and follow their passion and be safe and find a safe place, get health care, get child care. And it's just an incredible place it's hard to imagine life without it now that it's here.
I think a lot of people thought nothing good would ever happen in Ashland, and all of a sudden there's a beautiful building there and there's all these people around. We got to put a stoplight out because there's so many people crossing the street now, that it's not safe anymore. We got to improve the sidewalks because there's so many people, like mothers strolling their kids down the street and all that. And that's amazing to me. I mean, that's what I live for.
We finally made it happen. We've been talking and talking. We've been seeing that plot of land turning into something that most people don't really know what it is yet. But it's just turned into a success just based on like how it came to be. Like we've actually set up the foundation where change is going to be happening.
It's this type of project which will restore faith in government in America, which will show how to improve the social circumstances and the life outcomes of communities by honoring their words, their vision, and following the strategies that they give us to improve health and wellness.
What I hope for this is that the community sees that it's real, that when we said we were going to listen, we meant we were going to listen. I would really like to see that as something that helps us build affinity with the communities and helps build trust between citizens and government to say, that the Alameda County keeps its promise, and that when we say it's going to be yours and we'll build it for you and you will run it, we mean it. And we know that it will be better because we do that.
This is the best thing in my mind that's happened in Ashland in 45 years, so pretty rare.
So it's 32,000 square feet of happiness.
You know how you play tag and then you got the safe spot, so you touch it and you say safe? I want the youth center to be the safe spot. You know what I mean? You got gangs and stuff. I want everybody to be able to come there, and all of that's out the window when we at the youth center.
It will help kids to understand that there's somewhere to go, there's somewhere they can express themselves, and there's always like another option.
It'll be a place for them to connect. It'll be a place for them to hopefully make some adult allies that they don't maybe have in their life currently, and just a safe place to grow and to learn.
I don't think the youth center it's not the end. It can't be the end. It has to be one step, a big step obviously, but one step towards more. And I think that is going to require the youth believing that and learning how to take the lessons that they gain from the youth center and turn it into something.
For this community center to really be a catalyst of social change in Ashland and the surrounding areas.
Now there's a central location for young people, community members, and even families to be able to come together for the purpose of creating a better child, a better teenager, a better young adult, and a better Ashland community.
To me, this is all about creating a livable community. A livable community is a community that's wholesome, that's healthy, that's attractive, that people want to live in, visit, play in, that sort of thing. And so I think the Ashland Youth Center is symbolic of all of that.
We're going to look back in 20 years and see a community transformed by the positive wisdom and intelligence of youth.
When you talk about bringing the community together, this is a situation where the community came together, and this is what we made. You know what I mean? And this is what we fight for. This is it. Right? The Youth Center is the cornerstone of the community. It will be.
This project is humongous. This is a $23 million youth center being built that youth really went around and surveyed their community and got put on the top 5 priority list for. We grabbed the last bit of redevelopment money, so this is just a blessing. So just not to be afraid to step on something that you're not sure if it's gonna get done or not. And to put your best effort into it, because you never know where that effort's gonna lead you to.
Why is this project worth that much?
Because these kids are worth that much.
I believe that young people have the capacity to change something. I actually feel like young people are kind of our well of unseen wisdom. Without sounding really grandiose, like, I want the Ashland Youth Center to change the world. That's all.